Hi everyone, this is Claudio Serrano, official voice of Santander Te Cuenta podcast, this time using artificial intelligence. Santander Te Cuenta, a podcast with questions and ideas to help understand the modern world. Artificial intelligence, the opportunities of a disruptive technology. Given the proliferation of services centered around artificial intelligence and the associated media hype, Santander Te Cuenta takes a look at the opportunities presented by this revolutionary technology. How is this technology already being used in different sectors? What possibilities does using artificial intelligence in our daily lives open up? What new jobs will be created? How will humans and machines work in increasingly close collaboration? Coinciding with the launch of the Santander X Global Challenge, the AI Revolution by Santander Universities, and in collaboration with Microsoft, Ovidio Cordero, Banco Santander Communications Director, interviews Jens Hansen, General Manager Data and AI EMEA at Microsoft.
Hi Jens, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having me. Super excited about today. A little early for me here in New York, just arrived last night, so a little jet lagged, but excited about the conversation.
Great. Well, right now, as you know, Jens, Santander Universities is launching the Artificial Intelligence Santander X Challenge with Microsoft, your company. And we thought it was the perfect time to chat a bit about artificial intelligence, no? Which is something we're really interested in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think right now it's a really exciting market out there. There's a lot of public awareness on the topic, OpenAI and similar technologies all in that space. And I'm super excited about the partnership of Santander and Microsoft, not just because you guys are amazing customers, but also as we work on initiatives like Santander X together.
The biggest talking point about artificial intelligence at the moment is ChatGPT, a revolution that has impressed the whole world. Microsoft is investing a lot and launching products that incorporate it. This technology is already being applied effectively in very different industries. What stage of maturity is AI at?
Yeah, I think to your point, it has been already applied for a longer time in a variety of industries and scenarios, right? And some of the subdomains in the broader space of AI have been around for a couple of years, actually, right? Just think about, predictive models, pricing models. So we saw adoption of that already in industries like financial services, healthcare, transportation for a longer time. A lot has been done already over the last couple of years for companies to figure out how can we interact smarter with our customers. But it's still early stage, though, in a lot of these scenarios. But basically, the number one question is always how can we give our customers the best experience in every customer interaction, at every touch point we get in contact with our customers. And so artificial intelligence, has helped with that for a longer time.
With the aim of treating AI as an opportunity rather than a threat, new AI-related jobs are appearing within a large number of business sectors. What opportunities are you seeing come up in real time?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question because there's also a lot of, concerns and fear in that dialogue sometimes, right? Specifically around the advancements of AI. I think we sort of have to distinguish between how ready are companies to fully embrace AI or society. And so a lot of jobs right now that are super hot in the market are not specifically directly on AI, but more on the broader data context, right? Because, still in a variety of scenarios, customers, companies, organizations, and the likes need to, get their data, so to speak, in the right format, in the right shape to enable AI scenarios down the road. And then, it's kind of hard to predict what jobs will come out of this AI revolution, if you will. Nobody could have predicted 10 years ago that we have social media managers and, other roles like cybersecurity specialists that we see nowadays being everywhere, right? So I think some early indication is the data management space, analytics is still super hot. That needs a lot of investment in terms of we need more people in that space. There's still shortage of experience out there. And then also the whole topic of responsible AI ethics. How do we deal with AI, at a company level, at a broader society level? That is really some areas where we see already, new job postings hitting the market as of right now.
For our sector in particular, the financial sector, what opportunities do you think AI offers in terms of improving the quality of services that customers receive?
Yeah, I think to me, ultimately, it's all about the customer at the end of the day, right? And so new generation of customers also come, with new heightened expectations on how, a service company in the financial space supports them in their journeys, right? And so I think in one headline, it's like about how do we improve the quality of the service, but also very important, how do we make this more personalized, right? And that could be, goal-oriented financial advice, but it could also be, as a customer, the company should understand me better and what my needs are at this moment in time, and then interact with me in a smart way, right? So I think that is for sure in the financial sector the most common theme right now. There's more technical applications if you think about something like risk assessment, fraud detection, stuff like that. But I think more visible for the average person would be all things around customer interactions.
Okay. Does AI always depend on a human to ensure that there are no errors, or can it be fully trusted for some tasks?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think the answer to that will evolve over time to some extent, right? Right now in Microsoft, we firmly believe it's like AI, the primary task of AI is to augment human capabilities. And you can see this with the latest announcement we did in the office space around Copilot. I think that is a good way to describe the concept per se, where we basically say, hey, a human ultimately makes the decision, but we want to make that human more productive and more intelligent by giving them, access to advanced AI technologies while they're making those decisions. And I think for now, that is really the key focus, and is in line with sort of the state of AI as a technology, as an emerging technology. Over time, obviously, there will be more, let's say, routine tasks that can be automated and driven fully by AI, and there will be other areas where the human decision-making process is always going to be a key part of it.
I'm a journalist, Jens, and I previously studied translation. A lot of friends say to me that automatic translation has been saying to me for years that automatic translation will kill the profession. I don't see it that way, but it's true that it can be really useful for improving productivity. There are things that machines can't translate, like double entendres, sarcasm, or metaphors. A machine translating those would be worrying, wouldn't it? It could be like the Matrix.
Yeah, no, that's true. So I think, it's that, but also the broader field of journalism. I think a lot of people right now trying to understand what the implications are with, basically technologies like, OpenAI, ChatGPT, almost having a creative element to it. But to your point, there's just things that right now AI can't reliably do, right? And that is in the broader space of journalism is like investigative, research. Like how do we connect the dots between sometimes very complex scenarios? That is obviously something that is really right as of right now, not really something, AI could deliver. And the subtle nuances in terms of context, culture, and all that in sort of translating text is certainly in that field, right? Over time, we have always seen advancement in all of these areas. So you could also argue, hey, it's just a matter of time, when that will become, better in the sense that, AI can translate more text in a more meaningful way. But then again, we free up, basically resources to do better, journalistic work in general, right? So that is always like the old conversation of this technology hurt, automation hurt. I think ultimately history has told us that's not really the case necessarily, right? So, I don't feel like we should be stressed about it, to your point, yes.
So you just mentioned ChatGPT is clearly the biggest talking point at the moment, as we just discussed. Microsoft is investing. Could you tell us a bit about how we are going to start using ChatGPT naturally in the applications we use at work?
Yeah. So, that's such an interesting piece, right? Because with ChatGPT, it's basically the first time that AI got mainstream attention. I think before ChatGPT, it was sort of almost impossible to really conceptualize what AI was supposed to do. You had that field of data science. It all sounds like very technical, and you have to have like a couple PhDs in the background doing that stuff. With ChatGPT, obviously, everyone could experience for the first time, right, what the power of AI is. And keep in mind that's still early stage, right? So the the versions you're going to see in a year from now, 2 years, 5 years from now will be at a whole different level. But I think that has really, changed the game, as in it has crossed into the mainstream mindset, if you will. People could play around with it and could experience it. Now, I think from a Microsoft perspective, we've seen this a long time coming, right? We've invested very early on in the company that's behind ChatGPT and other services, OpenAI. We made an investment a couple of years ago, doubled down basically this year, with a huge investment into that company, because we believe that, fundamental technology they're developing will ultimately land in all of the productivity components that we offer as a company. So think about something like just, writing a document in Word, right? Being on a Teams call and actually getting a summary, like a meaningful summarization of a 1 hour call in terms of meeting notes, right? That's super powerful and a real productivity gain for a lot of people, right? So the technology itself has so many different fields of application that over time we will see that also landing in all of the applications that Microsoft is offering, as we would call it, like first-party products. And then our customers, like you, will build, on our platform their own services to make sure their own, processes can benefit from that. The most obvious use case example right now, obviously, is like ChatGPT, as in, I can chat with AI, right? And that is also, I think, interesting because that takes the old concept of like the Alexas of the world, of the Siris of the world, where, quite dumb at the time, to be honest, if you compare that right now with the capabilities that ChatGPT can deliver. So that is the first time actually you can really have an interaction with AI in a meaningful way. It keeps track of the context of the conversation and so forth. So that is the most obvious one and can obviously be used in customer service scenarios and stuff like that. But also we see really end-to-end processes that can benefit from embedding OpenAI as a technology into these end-to-end processes, right? One example of that, for instance, would be a fully automated claims management process where, the AI, takes care of the documents, takes care of the customer back and forth, like the interaction, the documentation, summarizes what happened in the contact center whenever the customer called, right? So I think ChatGPT is the most obvious one, as in everybody can sort of understand what that is, but ultimately it will find its way into a lot of processes.
Mm-hmm. And if we think about it a bit more broadly, what do you think artificial intelligence is going? What will we see in a few years' time?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit hard to predict, A, because I don't have a crystal ball, right? B, is like the speed of innovation is just increasing, right? And you can see this, like we had ChatGPT 3.5, now we have, version 4. I think we will see a lot of like new stuff come in over the next 6, 12, 18 months. So that's a bit hard to predict. But I think the two areas that are most important to me, one is there will be new advanced forms of that human-machine collaboration, right? Because we need to make sure it is super seamlessly embedded in all these, productivity processes that, everyday workers face, as in you should not even notice you interact with an AI, I guess is the point, right? Because that is the interaction between the human and the machine that should become as seamless as possible. So I think that is the big next thing in AI that we need to get right across the industry over the next 2 years or so, because that's really what will drive and fuel further adoption of the technology, right? It should be transparent in most contexts. In most of the contexts, the human should not even know per se that this is driven by AI. It should be just a smarter, more intuitive way of interacting with the system.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about the challenge of regulation, and there are various theories, as you know. Elon Musk has asked for regulation, while Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook has been less keen to it. Actually, Elon Musk had quite an alarmist outlook, in which machines are dangerous because they are much smarter than human beings. It sounds a bit, Well, what do you think? What do you make of that?
Yeah, no, I mean, this is such a complex conversation, which is, for the most part, there's so much oversimplification in that conversation. It is almost, sometimes to an extent a bit, painful, because there's some folks, to your point, almost propagating like doomsday scenarios. Some people sort of feel like that's the Skynet scenario from the Terminator movies, right, where the machines take over and they make decisions for us. That is probably a bit more extreme. I'm not sure that is a very realistic scenario. And then others kind of feel like we should not regulate this at all, to your point, right? I think as always, probably the truth is in the middle somewhere, as in also depends a lot on the application of AI, right? I mean, certainly we need to be cautious whenever we feel like there's going to be an automatic decision-making process that has little or no human oversight, right? And that could be even something simple like credit decisions or insurance decisions, right? Where you kind of feel like, well, do we really want to do that? As in, are we 100% sure there is no bias in the data? Is that really, a fair process? Can we guarantee it's a fair process? So, it's a very complex conversation at the end of the day. What's for sure, I think, humanity doesn't want to miss out on the improvements that will come, with AI. I mean, I just read an article where, doctors were, AI was, 2 years earlier able to detect breast cancer than any physician possibly could do. I mean, that's something obviously you don't want to miss out on, right? So I think it's kind of dangerous to just dismiss AI and put this in the box of evil, right? But I think it's also dangerous to let it loose and not think through. I think that the biggest opportunity, but also issue I see right now is almost education on the topic, right? Because AI is such a broad term. We really need to break it down at some point and to have more precision in the conversation. But also there's a lot of, corporate decision makers, but there's also, like in the policy-making domain, like there's more education needed, honestly, right? Because how can you come up with good policies and good regulations if you don't fully understand the technology, and that technology is changing and advancing at such a pace, right? So I think that is honestly the bigger issue to me. Like, how do we make sure we have a good open dialogue in all these forums that is also sort of working at the speed of the development and advancement these technologies will see over time, because it's fairly hard to regulate something you don't understand, I guess, right? So that is my primary concern. And also, that's an area where Microsoft does a lot. Like, we offer a lot of our best practices, recommendations, lessons learned to policymakers. And, we really want to have that dialogue, because I think to some extent we're a bit surprised that we don't see more public dialogue on that issue, right? Because it is going to be an important conversation and will become increasingly important. But yeah, I think it all starts with education at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Very interesting, yeah. Finally, what would be your advice for someone listening to this who is afraid of the changes being foreseen with respect to artificial intelligence?
Yeah, I mean, something we should and we have to take seriously, honestly, right? Because, I even see this in my private circles, like talking to, I don't know, my mom or my friends, right, who are not necessarily as deeply immersed into the technology than I am. And again, I think there's almost like the need for people to wanting to understand a bit more about, what falls into that umbrella of AI, into the different, areas of application. So I think there is an element, again, of education that's necessary. I think we, as an industry, we need to do a better job being probably a bit more transparent in terms of what's coming and how we feel about this and how we think about this. But ultimately, I don't feel like there should be broad concern because, again, like the positives are so strong in terms of, it will impact everybody's life in a very positive way at the end of the day. So people should, take this into account. But I think it's a healthy thing that people are a bit cautious because it's such a new technology and something we sort of need to wrap our, head around. And that probably takes a couple of years before everybody is on that same page.
Very good. Very interesting.
Thanks. Really good conversation.
Perfect. Yeah, really good. Thank you very much, Jens. Hope to see you soon. And let's see how the Santander Expo goes. I'm sure it's going to be interesting.
All right, cool.
If you want to hear more interesting conversations, head to the Santander Te Cuenta channel on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts.